All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for holding, everybody. So today's webinar is all about the Octopus Energy program called the Octo GridBoost program in ERCOT, Texas. It is basically it's a grid services program that's available to homeowners in deregulated energy markets of Texas, including the Centerpoint and Oncor regions of the state. My name's Tony Vernetti. Excuse me. I'm a sales trainer here at Enphase Energy, and I'm basically facilitating today's webinar, but I'm not the expert. Today we have Tom Breer, who's head of partnerships at Octopus Energy. He's going to be giving us a walkthrough of the financial framework of the program and outline potential incentives that the owner of an Enphase IQ Battery 10 could receive per year for participating in the program. Also joining us today to help answer questions is Katie Rosario, marketing manager at Octopus Energy. We also have Steve Lasher, who's Enphase's head of business development for grid services, Sandeep Kumar, who handles grid services marketing, and Bachula Kaushik, who's in product management. He's the guy that makes sure everything that we're describing today works the way that it's supposed to. So thank you everybody for being here to support the webinar. So let's go over today's agenda. We're going to begin by highlighting the benefits of partnering with Enphase for grid services programs. Then we'll do an overview of the Octopus Energy GridBoost program, show you what the customer journey looks like from start to finish. And then we'll talk about what are the next steps for you to take to participate in the GridBoost program. And then we'll have the Q&A at the end with leaders from both Octopus Energy and Enphase Energy. Both Enphase IQ batteries and microinverters and are grid services ready and have advanced grid functions which help with grid stability. System owners can use the battery in whatever operating mode that they want to keep it in when they're participating in grid services. And the grid services program will just override their battery temporarily and discharge the battery according to the program's requirements, and then it will automatically revert back to normal operating mode. We've worked really hard at making sure that the homeowner experience is best in class. With the Enphase app, the homeowner can sign up for and manage their participation in grid services programs. And if their home is prone to power outages, they can set a reserve capacity so that some energy is saved in case there is a power outage. Enphase offers live customer support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And all models of Enphase IQ batteries, including the IQ Battery 10, have a 15-year warranty as of July 1st of this year. Excuse me, my PowerPoint is all over the place today. Installers who have helped their customers to sign up for grid services can use the Enphase Installer Portal to monitor their customer's battery during events. Enphase also offers free training to our installers for sales, design, and installation via Enphase University, which is our online learning platform, as well as via on-demand and live webinars like we're doing today. We also offer free hands-on training at several regional training centers around the country. And on the Enphase website, we have a page that's dedicated to grid services that has information about all the different grid services programs that are available to Enphase system owners. Okay, with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Tom, who's going to explain how the program works in great detail. It's all yours, Tom.
Thanks, Tony. Next slide, please. So just as a quick introduction, my name's Tom. I look after our kind of partnerships and flexibility programs here at Octopus Energy. We're a retail electric provider in Texas and serve all of the deregulated areas of Texas. And I look after the relationship with Enphase. We've been working together on an integration with their batteries, as well as looking after our programs such as Octo GridBoost, which enables customers with these flexible assets to really maximize the benefits. I think I kind of want to start by saying that we're really excited by this program and how we can use these assets, which are becoming more and more installed across Texas, to really provide additional benefits to the grid. We all know how tough this summer's been for Texas, being really hot. We've seen ERCOT asking for sort of grid cutbacks, conserving power where needed, and we think that these assets can really help to kind of bring grid stability, as well as unlock additional kind of value streams for the customers. So the kind of purpose of this program is to reduce the strain on the electric grid during peak times, enabling customers with these batteries to maximize electricity bill credits, using their batteries to store power when the real-time prices are low and sell power back to when real-time prices are high. Residential batteries in ERCOT deregulated regions of Texas are all eligible for the program, as long as they are an Octopus Energy customer. Texas is also doing this new pilot called the ADER pilot, which effectively allows these assets to be able to participate not just in the real-time kind of wholesale markets, but in what's called the ancillary non-spin service markets. And what this enables us to do is also to unlock additional value streams for customers, which is where some of the additional incentives as well as the real-time price comes in. So how does it work? So Octopus has built a integration with Enphase, which allows us to kind of remotely discharge customers' batteries as part of the wider pilot that I just mentioned, to provide grid resiliency when needed, as well as to allow these batteries to kind of maximize revenues that customers can make from real-time prices when they do spike, as we have seen this summer. How it will work is that we may on occasion be called by ERCOT to dispatch the battery, in which case we will respond to those events. These events are likely to take place between 4 p.m. And 8 a.m. as these are typically when we see kind of high grid kind of stress events. We see the sun coming down, so solar coming offline when there's no wind, and kind of peak demand when people are going home, running their air conditioning. Typically a good time to dispatch the battery. However, that's not necessarily always the case. We have seen some real-time pricing spike in other times. So we will remotely control the battery. The customer shouldn't feel anything in the background, and instead we'll work to intelligently work out when the best times are to kind of dispatch the battery and maximize the monetary value for those customers. So what do the customers get off the back of it? Well, every month that they're enrolled in the program, regardless of how many events we call or what we do, the customer will have a $40 credit applied to their account if they have at least 10 kilowatt hours of Enphase batteries connected and controllable. So that amounts up to $480 per year. As well as that, we will pay the customer the real-time price for any electricity exported back to the grid. Unlike some of the other programs that you've seen, we offer 100% of the real-time price. We have no caps or no captures, so that buyback credit can be cashed out at any time. There's no conditions around sort of net metering or anything like that, or sort of net exports. Literally any credits that are generated from the real-time price done by export is the money of the customer and can be cashed out at any time. What do we ask from the customer? Well, the program runs annually, so we can call events at any time. We'll only use up to 80% of the usable capacity for each event. That's up to, we won't always use exactly 80%, and we look to potentially cycle up to once a day. Again, that is a potential. There may be days in which we don't cycle that battery when it doesn't make economic sense to do so. The only other thing is that the customer needs to be an Octopus Energy retail customer and select one of our retail plans. Next slide, please, Tony. So again, just kind of give you a quick overview of the customer incentive. So as I said, $40 credit each month that the battery is connected. That's got nothing to do with the events or anything like that. We just ask for a minimum of a 10 kilowatt hour battery connected at any time, and 100% of the real-time pass-through of solar buyback exported at the real-time price, no caps, no captures or anything like that. So what do they need? At least 10 kilowatt hours. They get $40 a month, as well as that the real-time price. We kind of done some estimates based on 2022 pricing that customers can make sort of an additional $200 to $500 a year just on the kind of export values alone. We'll get some more into some of the plans and financial modeling below in the next couple of slides. But you know, these numbers of course will vary depending on household consumption during the time of export, given that these batteries are kind of behind the meter assets. So any export goes towards the household load first. It depends on the available battery capacity at the time of the export and how much is in there, and also the real-time rates that's happening in the market now. Obviously, these can be extremely volatile. We've seen that in the summer months these are typically higher. However, we have seen in some of the winter months last year that these can be also quite high as well. So no export values are guaranteed, but we've done some modelling based on 2022 historical pricing. So digging into the numbers a bit more. Next slide, please, Tony. So I think what I wanted to do here was give kind of a bit of an overview of the different types of products and plans that we see in the market, and really try and highlight the importance of looking at every different factor of the plan. We know that one-to-one export pricing exists. and customers are offered kind of a fixed price for the export, which can be a very customer-friendly messaging in terms of this, you're guaranteed in terms of what you're going to get from export. However, there's lots of other factors within the retail plan that's really, really important to factor in when looking at actually what this will deliver to the customer and what type of saving. And I think the three things I really wanted to point out here was looking at both the import rates as well as the base charges and the catches. So we typically see that solar one-to-one buyback rates have a higher import rate. Why is this? This is because if you're guaranteeing the customer a cost at which you're going to pay them for their export, there are going to be times when solar is exported, at which point the retailer will get paid less than what they're having to pay that customer at that time. Therefore, we typically see a higher import rate that the customer will pay on their net consumption, net of the kind of solar cell consumed. So if the customers, even if a customer is consuming sort of 500 to 1,000 kilowatts, having a higher import rate by a couple of cents can really make a material impact on the bill each month. I think the other thing to note is a base fee. Suppliers typically charge a kind of a base fee, which is a fixed monthly amount, regardless of what's imported or exported. We typically see that these are typically a bit higher on a one-to-one export rate. Again, this is to help kind of recover some of those costs that we mentioned above. This can be really material, especially on a customer that has a very low household usage, because this typically makes up a big portion of the bill. The other thing to really watch out for is any kind of caps and conditions. We've seen some rates in the market whereby you can have no net exports. Others are restricted on system sizes, etc. So it's really important to note exactly what any kind of restrictions are when it comes to kind of looking at these rates and comparing them to again, what kind of a wholesale rate is. We know that wholesale rates can be sometimes a bit more difficult to kind of explain, given that they vary depending on the time of day and the time of month. However, we think that there's real value to the wholesale rate. We think it's very much aligned with kind of flexibility and grid stability, as we'll kind of get onto in a couple of slides. But also what it allows us to do is keep the monthly base fee low, as well as keeping the import rate as low as possible for customers. So I think the point here was just to kind of really highlight, when looking at comparing a real-time wholesale plan to a one-to-one kind of buyback plan, it's really important to look at other different factors to the plan and how these might affect the customer bill overall. So next slide, please, Tony. So I think what we wanted to do was go away and do some kind of comparisons in terms of, based on certain real-time kind of wholesale export prices, and based on the kind of plan structures, what would an Octo GridBoost program look to deliver in terms of kind of customer savings compared to a one-to-one rate, which typically has a slightly higher export rate, slightly higher import rate, as well as a kind of a monthly base fee. So we looked at a couple of assumptions to start with. We used a 20 kilowatt hour battery assumption, given that we see typically that's what most people in Texas have installed, cycling up to 80% capacity once per day. We use 50% of the grid of dispatch to the grid as export, with the remaining 50% as household load, based on the fact that the battery's first port of call is to satisfy the household load. And we looked at the household usage for these figures, net of any consumption offset by solar production. So this is consumption that the customer would have to pay for at their import rate. We looked at a range of different pricing scenarios across 2022, and we also included in there the Octo GridBoost $40 fixed incentive included in the customer savings, equating to $480 a year. So what I wanted to do is kind of put together a table to look at various different export prices based on real-time averages, and see how these would kind of compare when taking all the different factors at bay. The 29 cents that you see at the top of the table, whilst it may seem high, actually we have seen rates exceed that, and this is actually a average export rate over a 12-month period in 2022 if we exported in the highest 2 hours each day. So this is like a real best case scenario, but what we can see here is that we can start to deliver some really healthy savings if, by doing the intelligent control of the battery, in other words, actually doing that wholesale maximization on behalf of the customer so that they don't need to do anything, we can deliver some savings. But even as we move down the table towards some of the lower export rates, we still see that in every scenario, once you factor in the different elements of the fixed monthly incentive, the lower base fee and the lower import fee, even at sort of 3 cents per kilowatt hour or 6 cents average per kilowatt hour, which in reality we wouldn't want to export the battery at anyway, we're still looking to deliver a saving. Now, I chose the 9.54 as kind of a sort of middle baseline ground. our view is that in reality, we would never really look to export the battery back to the grid above this. And the reason for that is because when the wholesale price is lower than the customer's import, it makes sense for that battery to be in self-consumption mode and to effectively for the household to use the battery instead of importing from the grid at 9.54 or selling for lower than that. They should be using that to kind of offset their usage. And I think the 14.5 cents in the middle was the kind of a number based on kind of a 50% success rate of hitting the highest 2 hours in the day. So I think what we're trying to do here is kind of highlight that even with a real-time wholesale price, we know there's volatility. We actually believe that with the intelligence, we've seen how volatile the market can be. We can actually really intelligently solve for those factors, maximize the imports, maximize the export pricing that customers are getting to deliver those savings, as well as layering in the additional benefits, the fixed monthly incentive, the lower base cost, and the lower import price. So next slide, please, Tony. I think what I wanted to highlight here was actually a real life example. I know, like, often people hear of, what's the real time wholesale price? Oh, is that really achievable? We've seen these numbers, but in reality, nobody hits them. What we really did is we came up with a program, which actually Katie came up with and Katie ran, which was a Sunny Money competition that we did in August. We ran the competition for our solar customers during the month of August. And I would say this is just solar customers. There was no kind of battery intelligence involved in this program. This was simply doing kind of customer-based load shifting, manual load shifting, whereby the top 3 earners won a prize and 5 random participants won $50 credit as well. What was the purpose? We really wanted to highlight the benefits of real-time wholesale prices for exports. We wanted to encourage customers to load shift, to maximize export prices and provide that support to the grid. So with really leading with the messaging that when export prices are low, consume at home when export prices are cheap. In other words, the grid is in surplus. Pre-cool your home via your thermostat, do any kind of discretionary tasks that you would usually do later in the day, such as laundry, washing up, anything like that, and really help to load shift so that when export prices are super high, in other words, a signal that the grid is stressed, really cut back on your consumption. Make sure that all of the solar that you are producing is going back to the grid and maximizing the results of maximizing the amount of money that you're making from the exports. And the results, well, we're really, really pleased with the results. We saw that the average export price across the entire competition was 20 cents per kilowatt hour for the month. And we saw that the average within the top 10 was 36 cents per kilowatt hour. You'll see that some customers here on the leaderboard, made up towards sort of $1,000 of export credits, with the highest earner averaging sort of 66 cents per kilowatt hour across the month. And we'll also see here that some customers here even managed to average an export in the dollar amounts rather than cents per kilowatt. And what this really did to highlight was actually showing the benefits of shifting, showing that if you can export at intelligent times, you can really maximize the export rates that these customers are benefiting from. So yeah, just to kind of highlight, the competition was run without the intelligent export, and we really believe that the Octo GridBoost has the potential to further increase these export potentials from there. So next slide, please. So yeah, I think we kind of talked about it, but just to kind of recap, so the customer eligibility, customer must have a minimum of 10 kilowatt hour of battery installed. The battery must be connected to the internet through the Enphase IQ gateway so that we're able to control kind of charge and discharge events. Customer must be in a deregulated area of Texas so that we can supply them from a retail perspective, and the customer must be on an Octopus Energy retail electric plan. They can be on any one of our plans. It's not a certain plan. It's just kind of a feature add-on. Customer needs to accept the Enphase participation agreement, which is an Enphase document, as well as the Octo GridBoost terms and conditions, which you'll find in the Octopus Energy app. The battery reserve state of charge level will be set at 20%. Storm Guard mode will not be engaged during a dispatch event. However, once the end of the event takes place, if a customer's battery is in Storm Guard, it will go back to the Storm Guard. Whilst customers can't opt out of individual events, they can opt out of the program at any time. Though they will lose their kind of monthly $40 incentive, and we won't be doing the kind of intelligent dispatch for them. But there are no penalties for opting out of the program. Next slide, please, Tony. So just kind of talking about the customer journey. So I think we're working hard with Enphase to make this customer journey as seamless as possible for Enphase customers. So what happens if a customer wants to enroll in the program? Well, first step is we need to determine whether an Octopus Energy retail customer or not. If they're not, then they simply need to just go through our website, select any of the retail plans that they see available, and once they come on supply, they can then kind of enroll in the Octo GridBoost program. If they are an Octopus customer already, then all that we need to do is go through the Octopus Energy app, which is super easy to download, super easy to navigate, and register their interest through there. So currently in the app, there's the ability, and in the online account, there's the ability for customers to register their interest. We're building out a new seamless journey with Enphase, which should be live in the next month. Whereby customers will simply input their Enlighten information into within the Octopus app. This will connect their battery, give us all the necessary information that we need, and that's all they'll need to do. They'll see a link to the terms and conditions, as well as the Enphase participation agreements in there. The kind of a virtual tick box within the app, and kind of a simple, seamless customer experience from there. What happens next? Well, the customer doesn't really need to do anything from there. They kind of just need to sit back and relax, and everything should be in control. We will add the $40 credit to their monthly bill as long as the battery is connected, and they will see any export credits back onto their monthly bill as well. Next slide, please, Tony. So yeah, just a kind of a little overview of what it will look like in the app. So there'll be a little promo card on the homepage of the app, which kind of talks a bit about Octo GridBoost, gives them a quick overview of what the kind of program highlights are. They'll then be able to kind of click through and look at the different value propositions that they'll see. If they want, they can then click Get Started, which will take them to the next page. Tony, please. From there, we try to create kind of a really seamless experience from there. So customers will be able to choose from a range of connected devices. So they'll click on the home battery option, select Enphase as the battery that they've got, and then click Start the sign up. From there, they'll be shown the Octo GridBoost terms and conditions, as well as a link to the participation agreement. They'll need to just check those tick boxes in the app, which will register that they've accepted both of those. And then the pink button will pop up to say, let's take me through to the next step of enrollment. If the customers don't accept it, then they won't be able to proceed. Next section, please, Tony. From there, we're looking to do a super simple authentication, as I said. So there'll be a button to say, go to the Enphase login. A pop-up will appear in the app, which will effectively take you to an interface which looks like the Enphase login system. They'll be able to input their Enphase Enlighten email and password. What that will do is that will effectively allow them to tick the box within the Enphase architecture to effectively say that they want to enroll in the program, and to pass the kind of information across to Octopus. From there, we've built the technical integration in the background to pass all the information we need to connect to the battery for control. From that, that's really just about it. The customer's battery will then be connected. They will then have the so this here gives kind of a bit more overview of what it will look like when it takes you to the Enphase app. So click take me to the login. That's where the login information will get. That's where the kind of allow access. Customers will just click through there. And next page, please, Tony. And yes, and then from there, the battery will be connected. They don't need to do anything else. We will do the kind of intelligent control behind the battery, and we'll add the monthly credit. What's happening currently at the minute, whilst we build out this journey, is that there's an interface within the portal, which customers, when they log in, they will see kind of an Octo GridBoost register your interest. They will need to input a couple of personal information, including the name on the Enphase account, the email used on the Enphase account, as well as the site ID. We try and direct them in terms of how to find this information. What we then do, kind of just as a bit of a background information, is take that information, send it across to Enphase, validate that that customer is exactly who we think it is and who Enphase think it is, and then we'll kind of register that customer in the program. Again, once they've done that, once we've had everything back from Enphase, again, the customer doesn't need to do anything. We'll enroll the battery into the program and start the control and start adding the credits from there. So next steps, next slide, please, Tony. So everything that we do here at Octopus, we typically do in-house, and we love to provide our partners with as much kind of support and marketing as possible. Katie runs our marketing team and is happy to kind of provide support as and when needed, all the way through from sort of, example flyer lead behind creative towards all the way through to kind of personalized email creative that can be used to kind of send out to customers. We like to work with our partners in kind of a collaborative way. So if there's anything that you find helpful, or any feedback on the program, we would love to hear it. We can also look at referral programs with installers, whereby installers will get some sort of commercial incentive for referring customers. Similar to how we kind of do with our existing customers, we have a kind of a $50 referral credit whereby the customer gets $50 and the referee gets $50. We're happy to look at referral solutions as well with installers to kind of really push this program forward. So yeah, any additional feedback to help us develop the program, or any ways of working, we would love to hear from you. We would love to kind of take a collaborative approach on this, and we'd be super excited to have you on board. I think that's everything from me, Tony.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was an excellent overview. It's a really exciting program. A little bit more about Enphase training opportunities. If you are new to Enphase, if you haven't installed our batteries before, we want you to get certified. Installation certification and design certification are just two requirements in order to install and commission Enphase systems. We also offer a sales certification. It's not required, it's just for your own benefit. If you'd like to get your sales team kind of up to snuff and fully educated about the Enphase offering. And as I mentioned, we also do offer hands-on training. These are available at some of our distributor locations, so please contact. You can actually reach out to me if you'd like to know more about in-person training opportunities. We also have training vans that are mobile that will drive around to different locations as needed. So, if you'd like to get your whole team trained up, let us know and we could potentially schedule a time for the van to come out and do some hands-on training for you there. And here we have a few next steps and resources listed here. So the top is the Enphase Grid Services website, where we have information on all the grid services programs that we actually offer through the Enphase app and with our hardware. And then a link to how to contact Octopus Energy to become an installation partner and take part in the program. And a page which has more specific information about the Octo GridBoost program, a link there on how to get Enphase storage certified at and kind of guidelines on what exactly certifications and courses you need to take for specific things. Then lastly, we have a grid services group on LinkedIn as well, which is a great place for you to become part of the community that is participating in grid services, exchange ideas, and get questions answered from other folks that are doing it, as well as Enphase experts. We are going to be sharing these slides and a recording of today's presentation with everyone who registered for the event. So I did see a few questions that came in about that. So rest assured, by the end of the day today, you'll have the slides and a link to the recording. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at what other questions came in, Tom. So the first one, I believe you covered this pretty thoroughly, maybe after this question was asked, but let's just review it one more time. This question's from Geronimo. Do you have a one-to-one buyback? Do the credits build and roll over?
So we don't have a one-to-one buyback. I think I think I mentioned some of the reasons before. We believe that actually helping towards a more kind of resilient grid, we really need to actually, wholesale pricing should be the way forward. Helping customers kind of shift that load to maximize exports when actually export prices are higher than a one-to-one than what a typical one-to-one would pay. But also what that really enables us to do is it enables us to keep the import price low for the customer, because we're not effectively having to use the import price to kind of cross-subsidize some of that export price. And it allows us to keep our kind of monthly base fee that the customer pays lower than a typical kind of one-to-one retailer would do. With your question in terms of rollovers, credits, nope, there's no caps. We pay 100% of the real-time price. That cash then becomes the customer's cash. They can withdraw that money from their account. We don't cap how much is on there. We don't have any conditions around kind of solar system sizes, no conditions around net export or anything like that. Once that energy has been exported, they'll get paid 100% of the real-time price. That's their money.
Right, another question from Geronimo. How long will the contracts last?
So they can opt out of so our retail plan contracts are typically 12 months in length at the minute. However, the Octo GridBoost feature is technically an add-on to those retail plans. So if a customer wanted to be in the Octo GridBoost program for, let's say, 1 month and decided not to want to participate anymore, then they can opt out at any time. Whilst they will lose their monthly incentive of $40 a month and the intelligent kind of export behind it, they can opt out of the program without any penalty. Our retail plans, retail electricity plans, which are 12 months in length, have a $100 termination fee applied for early termination.
Okay, one more question from Geronimo. Can we use a battery from a non-Enphase company along with the Enphase system? This is interesting. Maybe like additional capacity bolted onto an Enphase system. Is that possible?
Don't believe so at the minute, as the integration is done via the actual battery itself rather than through the inverters. Right.
Enphase wouldn't have a way of communicating with another battery system or knowing what its state of charge is or anything like that. So, yeah. Okay. Just 1 second while I open up to see the whole question here. Okay, question from Matthew. Can any current Enphase battery owner that has the minimum storage capacity of 10 kilowatt hours, regardless of the installer, sign up for this program?
Correct. Anybody who has a Enphase battery that is enabled for grid services can participate in the program.
Okay, so it's not just for new projects, existing owners of Enphase systems can participate. Great.
Correct. As long as they're on an Octopus Energy retail plan, they are able to kind of register their battery in the same way that a new customer would be able to do so, as long as that battery is enabled for grid services.
Great. Another question from Matthew. Any way to use already installed, is there any way to use already integrated load shed relays to auto shed heavy stuff like AC to maximize export at high real-time rates?
We actually do some of that already. So I guess a big focus of our kind of retail proposition is connected devices. So yes, in a similar way, we have integrations built out with the likes of Ecobee, Sensi, and shortly coming online Honeywell and Nest, as you say, be able to do similar things whereby, if we see export price, if we see kind of real-time prices are high, not only can we export the battery, but also kind of pause the thermostat, whether we do the pre-cooling of the home previously or kind of pause that thermostat for a short period of time to, as you say, cut back on some of those bigger household loads and maximize exports from there. So yes, that's definitely the kind of the plan going forward, and we already are starting to do some of that at the minute.
All right. And Matthew had an add-on question. He's asking specifically about the Enphase load shedding equipment, or what we call the IQ load controller. I don't imagine you know the answer to that, Tom. Steve, if you happen to know, please help me answer this question. I haven't heard of this with any of our other grid services programs, so I don't think it's a possibility at this point, Matthew, but it is an interesting suggestion. So we'll discuss it with the software team and see if that is a possibility.
Yeah, I don't have any more on that, Tony, but I think that's a good idea. We can follow up with the team on that.
Okay. Question from Stephanie. Does Octopus Energy provide service all over Texas, or are some areas not available?
Some areas are not available, so the likes of co-ops, such as Austin Energy, for example, is being the first one that comes to mind, are anywhere where a customer is not allowed to select their retail energy provider, we cannot service. However, anywhere that is open to retail choice, we can supply. So if it's open to retail choice, we can offer this program to them.
Great, thank you. All right, those are all the questions that have come in so far. Again, for the audience, if you think of a question after we're done here, you can get back to us by responding to the confirmation email you got when you signed up for the webinar, or the follow-up email that'll come to my inbox. Or you can email Tom at tom.breer, B-R-E-A-R-E, at octoenergy.com with any additional questions, specifically about the Octopus Energy program. If it's an Enphase question, hardware, or training question, feel free to send that to me. All right. Well, anything you'd like to add or comment on at the end before we wrap, Tom? Or do you feel like we've covered all the bases today?
No, just a big thank you to everybody who attended. It's great that you've shown your interest. We'd love to have you involved in the program. So yeah, as I said, any feedback on the program, we're always willing to have a conversation. We're always open to that. If you're based in Houston, feel free to come visit us in our offices here in downtown. And yes, yeah, we would love to have you on board. So thank you to Enphase for setting this up, and thank you to everybody who's attended.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. We look forward to working with you. Have a great day.